one of the most frustrating things when it comes to improving your English is that you spend ages learning new words, but when you're in a conversation, you don't seem to be able to find those new words and you never use them. So you're kind of stuck in a cycle of just using the same basic expressions over and over again, and it's really annoying. So today we're going to talk about why that happens, but more importantly, we're going to talk about how you can stop it happening in the future. So let's talk about it. Hey up, mate. How you doing today? I'm not too bad. Thanks for asking and welcome to BritSpeak. If you're new around here, my name is Dan and my goal is to help you communicate more confidently in English. Now, in today's video, we're talking about something that is really annoying when it comes to vocabulary, right? Maybe this sounds a bit like you. So you learn new words in English and you know these words, right? If you're listening to something or you're reading something and you see or hear this word, you know what it means. But then when you're in a conversation and you want to try and use that word, it's gone. It's just nowhere to be found. Your brain is searching, nothing there. So you're stuck using the same basic expressions over and over again. And it's annoying. But why does it happen? And how can you stop it happening? Well, that is what you're going to learn and you're going to understand by the end of this video. Now, before we do that, I want to mention that learning vocabulary is quite difficult, but it's also very important. It's one of the stages on the BritSpeak roadmap. So this is a free download that you can get using the link in the description, and it gives you a step-by-step guide for what you need to do to go from like intermediate levels to more advanced levels, like the things you need to work on and how to do those things so you can start making some progress. It's totally free, so get it using the link in the description. Now, when it comes to not being able to use new words in English, one of the main reasons is that people don't understand that they actually have two different sets of vocabulary, right? In English, we've got passive vocabulary and we've got active vocabulary. Passive just means they're the words that you recognize and you understand. If you hear it or you see it, your brain is like, I know that word. I know that. I've seen that word before and I know what it means. So that's your passive. It's like receptive. So if you see it, you can understand it, right? But on the other hand, we've got active vocabulary. And these are the words that our brain can call up on its own. It can find and we can use them, right? So people don't understand that there's two different systems, right? And two different systems require two different methods to improve. To improve your passive vocabulary, you learn words, you review them a lot, and then they stick in your brain, right? But to activate vocabulary, so you can actually use it, is a different thing altogether. And if you're just doing this stuff, reviews and learning new words, it's not automatically going to do this stuff so you can actually use it. So now that you know that there's a difference, and you need a different approach for each thing, you're probably asking yourself, well, okay, how do I activate vocabulary then? Now, activating vocabulary basically requires output. Receptive vocabulary usually requires input, but activating vocabulary requires output. And that means using it, speaking especially. So if you want to activate new words, basically, you've got to use those words as much as you possibly can. Like literally every single day if you can. The more you use it, the more your brain is prepared to use it. You know, if you think about playing guitar, the more you learn how to make a G chord, the more prepared your hands and your brain are to make that G chord when you need to do it. And it's the same with speaking in English. So the next question always is, okay, so how do I do that? Well, luckily, there's a bunch of different exercises that you can do even if you're on your own. Like in an earlier video, we've talked all about speaking practice that you can do anywhere, even if you're on your own, right? We talked about shadowing and reading out loud and describing a picture and all these exercises. And they're great. But when you want to activate specific words, we kind of need to do things a little bit different. Okay? So some exercises that I think are very useful for somebody that wants to activate vocabulary are things like recording an audio diary. So, on your phone, you've probably got some kind of voice recording app, right? So at the end of the day, you're getting ready to go to bed. You've got 10 minutes before you go to bed. Whip out your phone, open the voice recorder, and try to talk about your day for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, every single day, right? Just, what did you do today? I woke up at 6 o'clock. I went to work. I saw a monkey in the zoo, whatever you did today. Just get into the habit of recording yourself every day talking about your day, right? But this exercise is very good for trying out new words. For example, if you're recording yourself every day and you find that you use the same expression over and over again, try and think, do I know another way to say that? Then tomorrow, try using the new one. So then your brain is like, oh, we've got 2 ways to do that. And it's got another way and it's stored in the bank ready to go. Another thing that you can do is try to force new words into conversation. I used to do this all the time in Japanese. I'd have a conversation with somebody and I'd have a word in my head that I want to use. And I would try so hard to put that word into the conversation. Even if it wasn't very natural, even if it didn't make much sense, I would really, really try to put that word into that conversation. It's like a challenge. Can I put that word into the conversation? And more often than not, I did. And it really, really helped me actually use that word more in the future because my brain was looking for opportunities that I could use it. So that's really cool. And I think another thing that you could do in terms of activating vocabulary that's quite easy and quite useful is you've got this word you want to activate, right? Try making 5 to 10 example sentences that are relative to your daily life, not just examples, but examples you can imagine yourself using, situations that you're actually going to be in your life. Try to make 5 to 10 example sentences. You can write it down or you can say them out loud and get into the habit of making kind of like role plays in your head or like example sentences in your head. Because therefore your brain is more prepared because it understands the kind of situations and the kind of sentences where that word might be used. So then when you're in an actual conversation, something like that comes up, your brain is like, oh, I remember we made that sentence. This is really similar. Let's try that new word. And I think those kinds of exercises are really, really good for activating vocabulary. Other exercises you can do are things like synonyms or antonym challenge, like you've got a word and you write down as many words as you can with the same meaning or opposite meaning as well. Or things like the taboo game. Taboo are a game where basically you get a card, right? And on this card, there's a key word. And there's 5 other words that you're not allowed to use. And the idea is that you have to explain what that word is without using those words. So it forces you to try and find other ways to express the same idea, which therefore forces you to use words that you don't normally use, so they're more likely to become active in the future. But basically, the headline from the whole video is use or lose, right? If you don't use the new words, you're going to lose them and you won't be able to use them in conversation. So just try to output as much as possible. And like I said, this is covered in the BritSpeak roadmap. Totally free. Get it down below. It'll guide you step by step what to do and what to look for if you're trying to improve your English. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back again with another one really soon. But until then, look after yourself, mate. See you there.